Um, yeah, just start from the beginning.
yeah, I just wanted to thank you for inviting me into the exhibition and accepting my work. And it's great working with you and people who get back to you in detail. That's always great. And you've been patient with my replies. So I appreciate it. And actually, I was looking at my calendar to see if I could get out there to see the work and the exhibition. So
Oh, that would be wonderful, Paul. I know that you're busy and we'll send you a lot of images, but your presence would be, of course, much appreciated.
yeah, I'd like to hear Lauren's giving a talk, correct?
Yes, yeah, she's giving a talk on the 24th
Okay.
at 3:30.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, thanks again.
So tell us about your work that is currently on display at the gallery.
Mhm. Well, the piece at the gallery is one of the what I call a knot story, KNOT story. And that work is rooted in the cell personae series, CELL, which came in the wake of a series called Personas. And personas were close to the first pieces that I had done on the wall. I had a few pieces that I had done that hung on the wall, and the personas hung on the wall, and they had a lot to do with gender. The openings on these pieces were quasi-gender symbols, and my reading of Jung. It had to do with some things that I was going through. It was at the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, and things were really happening in the world that were quite disturbing, especially for the Black community. And I had moved to Minnesota, and a few days after I got there, Philando Castile was shot. And that it just threw me off, and I felt like I was code switching and projecting in ways that wasn't myself. So out came this series, this Persona series. And then remembering my work with people who were incarcerated, I got over feeling sorry for myself and thought of these people who, once they've been touched by the system, they have a CELL cell persona, job application, stigma in society. And then I made, I would say, several sets of that cell persona series. They also hung on the wall and they dealt with different issues of incarceration. I was reading Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow, Ava DuVernay's movie, 13th. And that work is very heavy. I often think of people like Kara Walker, and I don't know how they have been working with these themes for years because it psychologically wore me out. And so I wanted a little more freedom. I mean, all the work is abstract, but the Cell Personae series was formally referencing um, prisons as well as conceptually. The the Knot stories gave me a lot more freedom and scope to work with whatever themes I happen to be entertaining, and and also some freedom with the structure. And so the piece in the show is a knot story, and I would use the knots. This one is truth to power, this idea of speaking truth to power, and how a lot of the work has to do with perseverance as well as the obvious stress and suffering of being on the ground, whether it be gender, whether it be class. and yet there's a strength and a perseverance there. So I thought truth to power, just the way I was handling the knots at that time, and I felt very free to, I wasn't so worried about, how I was tying the knots. I just felt a lot of fluency in that piece. And, I had done a number of them by the time I got to that piece. And I felt like I was speaking well with the formal elements that I was using. They were working for me. Um, so kind of a long story.
No, this is a perfect story, very, very informative, I'm sure, for our audience. Can you tell me about the process you usually work through, starting from the beginning and perhaps finalizing, having a large piece of work, ceramic work at the end of the process? Can you tell
Mm,
us?
okay. Yes. For a long time. All right. So, I make these pinched pieces as well. And I've always made the pinch pieces and I've always worked with slabs as well. People are always surprised when I would say that I consider myself an artist who uses um, clay in slab form. And they were like, wait a minute, but you do pinch pots. That's like the pinch pots, you know, they I enjoy making them and I'm very pleased with how they've been received. Um, but I like to tell a joke that Bono from U2, the group U2 told. He said it was a compilation of their greatest hits, and the interviewer said, what is it like to have this compilation of your best work coming out? And he said, well, it's not our best work, is it? It's our greatest hits. And so. Again, I love the pinch pots. I'm glad that they're out there, but they're kind of like the greatest hits because I've always considered my slab work to be the work that was my best work. And that work was always what I called uh, philosophizing concretely. One of my art history professors used to talk about working and talking about art gave him scope to philosophize concretely. And so all of that work always came out of reading and just thinking about ideas. And then I would try to, and this is my interest in icons, I would try to materialize that conceptually. And more often than not, I was working abstractly. Um, Presently, I'm working both ways, but there's a piece that I'm working on, very small units that I'm constructing. They actually are kind of built off of a 3-inch cube, and I'm trying to just work on those purely aesthetically, just formally thinking about space and line, and they also hang on the wall. I have a goal of making 100. I don't know where that number comes from. And those pieces, I had one of my mentors did a studio visit with me recently, and I was talking to him about working this way. And we were talking about the work speaking back to you. I've made maybe I've only made about 20. But they hang on the wall. I just had cleats made, special cleats for them to hang on the wall. And they're starting to speak back to me, but I'm trying not to listen. I just want to keep working purely and formally on them, but they already have a name now. They were just pieces, and now they're dwellings. Uh, so, and then right alongside that, the movie Wicked came out, and I'm having this difficulty using screens now, so I haven't seen the movie, And somebody said, "Don't even see the movie, read the book." So I got the book and I read Wicked by Gregory Maguire, and I was completely just riveted and what happens to Elphaba. And then I knew that the recent character for Elphaba was black, a person of color, and uh, and so I just thought of Elphaba and her story. So I did start this series that I'm calling the Gravity series, and it's their sculpture in the round, not on the wall, and so that is work that is coming out of literature. And then I had a series, a poetry series that I did a few years back. I still do them periodically if a poem grabs me. And then one of the poems that I worked with Amanda, oh my gosh, can't believe just blanked on her name. Um, it'll come to me. Her poem, the Hill Incline that she did for the inauguration. And when I did that piece, uh, and then I found out that she did a poem, um, um, that she did a poem also in connection with the movie Wicked, which was kind of great. I was like, wow, Amanda's doing a poem about Wicked. I'm making pieces about Wicked. So that was cool. So yeah. So sometimes I'm working from literature, but I'm trying to work now, uh, purely from aesthetically on one series. And I just needed that. I needed again to put away some of the heavy stuff and uh and so that's where I am right now. So again, sometimes out of literature, uh the pinch pots are I'm always thinking about them formally, but they're more very meditative. Amanda Gorman's
Yes, and I love her poetry myself, and I love her presentation, the way she reads
oh
poetry.
yeah,
Oh,
sure.
she will go far.
Yeah, it's quite an experience just
Yeah.
to watch her read as well as to hear her.
Mhm. Wonderful. And I love the expression philosophizing concretely,
Yeah, yeah.
because I think that's what we, or many of us, especially art historians, need, because philosophy is such an abstract field, and artists help us to put our ideas into shapes, into forms, and make them concrete,
Mhm.
which is, yeah, perfect description.
Yeah, it was a Byzantinist, art historian who um, talked about that idea. So, yeah.
So I know that you teach, Paul, and you do administrative work as part of your job, and meet with students and advising them. How do you combine, or how do you merge all these areas of your existence, creative process and administrative duties and teaching?
How do I merge them?
Yes.
Oh, they merge. Yeah, they merge all right. Yeah, you can't help but merge them. I'll tell you a quick story. My broken record that I have said for years, and now I'm truly having to live it myself. I would always say to my students, chase the muse, chase the muse. I I don't know who this is attributed to. It might be attributed to Picasso, who said, inspiration will come, but it has to find you working. And one of my mentors, one of my great mentors in my life, would all he would ever say to me is, "Are you working? Are you working?" And and then another mentor of mine, she used to say something similar about just being in the studio. If you have a few minutes, at least just go to your studio. And so here at Alfred, it's a it's a busy place. It's an intense pedagogical um, climate here for students and professors. It's rich, but it is full. And I noticed my first year that there was a small little break. Maybe it was fall break or whatever it was called. There was a break, and it was only about 2 or 3 days that we had off. And so students were gone only for a few days. I think they must have had the long weekend as well. And my colleagues were out on what we call the floor. They were out on the floor. They had brought tables out, major amounts of clay, and they were working. I was ready to collapse and rest. And they were working, they were out on the floor. People were in their studios. And I was like, oh my gosh. All right, that's how they do it. They're disciplined. They're just chasing the muse. And so this is really the first semester that I have been able to, I'll have that time off or a day, or I'll have some time in the studio and just go work. I just go chase the muse. And I used to tell my students, don't wait for inspiration to come and then say, oh, I'm going to go to the studio, I'm going to work. No, go and work, and then inspiration will show up. So I can't say that I'm balancing them. Something always takes a precedent. Sometimes it's teaching, sometimes it's, responsibilities, um, and sometimes it's family. But I do try to juggle them evenly. So this week I know it's review week, and so most of my time is going to be spent doing that. Uh, this week we have, all right, let's travel, go see the kids. Okay. And then sometimes I'll just say, all right, this is like this weekend, everything that I'm doing is definitely studio related. I started yesterday afternoon, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I will definitely be studio related. So, yeah. So,
Wonderful. I wanted to circle back to your description of the work speaking to you, back to you.
mhm.
When the work speaks back, are you thinking to do more of the work of the same, or you thinking to move to another series, or you compelled to go and redo the existing work? How does it work for you?
Yeah, sure. William Kentridge, and I'm not paraphrasing him that much. William Kentridge, Martin Perrier, Agnes Martin, and others talk about, and Kentridge really puts it out as, you get this idea and you can kind of see where it's going to go, where it could go. But then there's this whole process between the inspiration and getting to the idea. And somewhere between the inspiration and getting to the idea, that's where the art takes place. And the artist must be able to see that and then have the humility to go in that direction and let that be the work. So yeah, the work speaks back, and like, all right, let's take this Elphaba quote. Elphaba has already become gravity, and gravity, has already become something being held together. And I'm fine with that. I'll probably gravity as a phenomena, and then thinking of it conceptually and metaphorically. I think that's going to continue to drive the work, but within that, um, again, yeah, I feel like you just got to have this humility to go where the work is taking you. Sometimes you hit it right on the head, and this is the idea. These are the formal qualities that I think are going to get me there. And you look at the work and you say that's what I was thinking. But I think what you really want, and one of my mentors used to say this, you go in the studio and you work, and you look at the piece and you say, that's not what I was thinking. Or you work and you work and you work, you put it in front of you and you say, now that's what I was thinking. But if you allow the process to really be part of what it means to make work, then you will get to the better place of you work and you work and you work, you put the piece in front of you and you say, that's better than what I was thinking. So I'm always looking to see if the work is going to give me a little more than I was even asking for. So.
Wonderful. We talked about your best advice to students, but I just wonder if anything else you would like to share with our young ones who plan to be artists or try to do art and experience questions.
Yeah. I'm I've been seeing this phenomena happening out there in the art world in general, but definitely in ceramics, of people who are trying to make work that's going to be recognized. And I don't think that's the way to go. I mean, that can work for some people, but I think working a lot is important. Again, if the process is part of what it means to make work, then you have to make a lot of work to become fluent with even expressing the idea. But I know it's a cliche, but you really have to stay true to yourself. You really have to you have to be able to make work that's true to you and not work towards something. It, you may have to be willing to leave a series because you just have to make this other object and be willing to do that, even if it costs you. Because I think that's what being an artist is all about. There's a lot of self-reflection, right, and self-realization that takes place, and it can only happen if you really go in there and give it a good look. And so making work, one of my mentors used to say, are you working? Are you working? And then just letting the work flow out of you. And then if someone does come knocking and say, we'd like to show the work, you have some work. You have some work for them to curate from. And I also would say trust your mentors. You know how many times I reference teachers and mentors in this conversation? Trust them. Even now, as I listen to my colleagues, they've been doing it, I just picked two of them, and you got almost, 75 years of experience. And I'm listening to what they're saying. And when I went back to grad school later, and I just told myself, these people have been doing this for a long time. They've seen a lot of work and talked to a lot of artists. If they say five things in my review, I'm going to try at least three of them. And let me tell you something, that has really made the difference. And I also, when I first started doing the wall pieces, it wasn't because I wanted to do wall pieces. It's because a gallery director, a curator, gave me the opportunity to use a wall. And she was just excellent at placing the work, knowing where the pieces should go. And that was the Persona series. And then as I brought in some other work to be part of an exhibit that Roberto Lugo curated, And I came in and when I saw where the work had been placed, that happens often. You know, it's not always great, but it's great more often than it's not. We're pieces of we're if you work with curators and gallery directors and about placement. Anyway, so just being humble enough to work with your mentors and your teachers, work often, and being really true to the process of making work, and obviously true to yourself. So I'm sorry I'm so long-winded, but great questions. So
No, wonderful, Paul. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to exhibit your work and now talk to you about your work, and you gave me great ideas for my own work as well.
okay. Well, thank you, Julia. Appreciate it.
Yeah, pleasure. Pleasure. Talk soon. Mm.
Bye-bye.